Hello, everybody. As per the usual, and once again, and as always, this show is brought to you by Audible.com. You could go to www.audibletrial.com/TNRL. Once you get there, it's very easy. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial membership. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. So go try it out. And when you sign up for the free 30-day trial membership, you get a free audiobook download. So free book, free trial membership, doesn't cost you a thing. If you like it, you can stay, and then they're going to want some coin. But that's okay, because it's a pretty good service. They have over 100,000 titles available for your iPad, iPhone, iWhatever device. So if you have some kind of MP3 device, they have something for you. 100,000 titles to choose from, including books, periodicals, magazines, newspapers. There's a lot there. So www.audibletrial.com/TNRL. Go sign up for a free 30-day trial membership, and with that trial membership, you get a free...
Jesus got out here.
I thought I was a good Christian.
Jesus died on a cross. I go to church every Sunday. Jesus got out here. Then I read that this Jesus died on a cross for a rotten hooker.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday. I'm a very religious person.
I thought I was a good Christian.
The very lie the serpent told to Eve in the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and
Hey everybody, it is Monday, July 23rd, 2012. I'm your host, Ken. This Non-Religious Life, all the way across the coast, we have Bob.
How's it going?
And Jason.
Hello.
And
all the way across the coast.
Yeah, all the way, all the way, other coast. It might be noon where you guys are, but it is only 9 in the morning where I am. So normally we have a few topics to talk about, but really today they're all sort of intertwined into one big hodgepodge sort of thing, and it ties into some of the other shows because you guys were just talking about the movie, and obviously today we're going to talk about the horrible events that happened at the premiere of Dark Knight Rises, the shooting, because honestly within hours all the crackpots were out making different claims about what happened, and I think really doing a disservice to the fact that this is a horrible tragedy. So if people don't know, there's this sort of woo site called naturalnews.com. Bob actually sent me a really good link to the Rational Wiki discussion of the whole thing, and this site, within hours of everything happening, they put up an article about how the Colorado shooting had to have been staged. And Bob, I know you have some real strong thoughts on this, so why don't you take it away for a second?
Well, yeah, sadly, I went to the midnight showing of the Dark Knight, and it was a long movie. It didn't let out until 3 in the morning. Well, with trailers and everything that were in front of it, so I didn't get home until like 3 in the a.m. And then I didn't think to look at news sites or read news or anything, so I just went to sleep and slept in the next day, and I had no idea what was going on. So about noon the next day, I was like flipping through news sites, and it was all over the place, and it came as sort of a shock to me. Now, had I known what I know now, like had I been cognizant of what was happening then, I bet I would have put a stopwatch and just like started timing and kept a track of like how soon the cranks came crawling out of the woodwork. And Natural News did not disappoint. They maintain that the shooting was a setup for a variety of reasons, all of which fall under the heading of anomaly hunting. And like their whole website is they look at different aspects of the shooter's behavior, and like some of the more ridiculous aspects were like, how could he have gotten those weapons? How could he have gotten those guns? Like, turns out we live in America. Guns are really easy to come by. I don't see how that is anomalous at all.
Yeah, I think that's one of the funny things, because I got embroiled in a pretty long discussion about this. None of the things that he had are hard to find. It took me, honestly, under a minute. Every piece of equipment that I could find listed that he had, I found by doing a cursory Google search. Like, people were like, oh, how do you get tear gas? It took me 3 seconds, and I found tear gas canisters for sale online. It's not hard to find these things. Guns are aplenty in the United States. Here in California, you can actually even, I know everyone's saying, oh, he had extended clips. Nobody has extended clips. You can actually file legally here in California to get high-capacity magazine license. They sell them. You can go online, or you can go to gun shows, and you can buy this stuff without a waiting period or background check or anything. You don't need to prove that you should have it. It's very easy to get these things. Body armor you can find online for $200. The black SWAT outfit you can get at a Army Navy surplus store for $60.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a store in walking distance of my apartment where I could go and get all of that gear. I could walk to it. I don't even have to drive a car. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, same here. I can walk up the street, and there's an Army Navy surplus store around the corner from me where I can buy. They're like brass knuckles, but they're plastic, and there are 2 metal electrodes because it's actually a stun gun. Brass knuckle stun gun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, natural news. Another thing that they said was anomalous was the shooter's, the gunman's behavior in general, because early on, all the early news reports said that he was a person who was shy and introverted, and why would a shy and introverted person act this way? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's what they always say about these people who commit these, heinous mass crimes. They were always shy and introverted.
Well,
Why
I mean, that's an MO. That's not an anomaly. That's fairly common. People who go on shooting rampages are usually introverts, not extroverts. Yeah. I mean, look at recent history, Virginia Tech shooting. He was very quiet. He was brilliant, good student. Cracked. People suffer from psychological cracks all the time.
Yeah, he's definitely broken mentally, and I guess we're going to learn more about that. But then, so the Natural News site, I guess the thing that they pointed to the most that was their biggest anomaly was that the gunman waited till a point in the movie that had some gunplay. It was about 20 minutes into the film, and they apparently, and like I said, I wasn't there, I don't know, but apparently the story is that he timed the moment he would open fire into the crowd to coincide with a moment when there was gunfire in the movie. And the Natural News site is holding that up is like, see, this was the midnight premiere of this movie. How could he have possibly known when the gunfire would occur? How could he have known when this would happen unless he saw the movie ahead of time? And this is the midnight premiere. How could he have seen the movie ahead of time unless he had some kind of inside connection? And that's ridiculous, because even on this site, even on the Zombie Popcorn site, we gave away free screening passes to a 7:30 show that day. So that would be plenty of time for someone who, if they cared to plan something this meticulously, they could have seen the earlier show, picked out their moment, and then returned to the midnight showing and perpetrated their crime. It's not that crazy. And I noticed we lost Ken.
No, we got it. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, no, here's the thing. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm going to see it tonight. But honestly, yeah, I'm willing to bet there are at least a dozen points where there's lots of gunfire, and anyone who's going to see that movie knows that. He could have just waited for a part where he anticipated gunplay and then stood up. He could have gone to an advanced screening, like, Jason gives away advanced screenings all the time.
Wait. Don't link what we give away for free to this.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that it's not entirely unplausible for someone to have seen the movie ahead of time with very little effort on their part.
Yeah, with very little effort. All you got to do usually is reply to the newsletter. Yeah, that's one of the real funny ones, because it's definitely just an anomaly that's not really an anomaly. It's an action movie. An action movie with a lot of explosions and gunplay. Figuring out when there's going to be, an action scene where people are going to start firing guns isn't rocket science.
Yeah, you could probably see a guy stepping on the screen with some kind of automatic weapon, like, all right, any second now he's gonna open fire, and when he does, I will too. I mean, that's horrible to think about, but that could be what happened.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely the kind of site that Natural News is they promote all sorts of quackery, and they really are just cranks, like they hold contrary views, not because the contrary views are valid, but simply because they're contrary views. I have cats running around this house. It's nuts. Cats just running back and forth. But that's the gist I get from it. Every time I have a few friends who are really into the whole Natural News and a lot of the crazy conspiracies, and every time I see them post something from this site, I just have to go off. I'm like, this is the most ridiculous piece of rubbish I've ever read.
Yeah,
there's no critical faculties employed in writing this at all.
I think it's funny now, thinking about it. Not funny at all, but I'm talking about that. That's like, if I'd have known the moment the Aurora shooting happened, start that stopwatch and see when the cranks come out of the closet. I bet that it would be a race between the conspiracy nuts at, say, Natural News, and I that was an ad hominem attack. I did it, whatever. Or the religious nuts at other websites like American Family Association or something like that. And I think the conspiracy nuts beat them to it because I think those guys are just up late at night.
Well, I think the local government beat them both to the punch.
How's that?
Because they immediately released saying, let me give background. There's an organization that's worldwide called the Anarchist Black Cross, and what they do is they're political prisoner support group. They support people who have been arrested for doing protest or whatever, and they don't demonstrate. They don't do anything like that. They just offer support. Well, the local government came out and said that, he did this because he's a member of an anarchist organization, and they named the Denver Anarchist Black Cross in it. And the organization had to step out and say, we don't know this guy,
They also, the mainstream media did that too with the Tea Party. They said that he was a Tea Party member when he wasn't. It was just a guy with his same name in 100-mile radius. Yeah. They just, the mainstream media just Googled his name
and came out, and I'm sure that's what happened with this Anarchist Black Cross organization. It's just it's a disgrace to the victims and everything for them. People just start grabbing shit out of the air and saying, "This is what happened," instead of sitting back and saying, "This is horrible. Let's focus on the survivors and the victims' families."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the Anarchist Black Cross thing, but I saw I guess it was MSN. And I don't know where if they were just copying somebody else, but they were saying that he was this. What's the guy's name? Like James Holman. Was that his name?
James Holmes.
Holmes.
Or
Holmes.
Holmes is his last name.
They said like
James Holmes.
We don't know of his religious or his political affiliations, but there is a James Holmes that's a member of the Tea Party movement, and he lives in the next town over. And they're like, we don't know if they're the same guy or not. Not saying he is. You know, like they play coy with it. Like,
That guy in the next town is like, fuck you.
Why don't they just come out with a verifiable fact?
Yeah.
And move from there, not just like gross speculation. As much as I'm not sorry for the Tea Party getting a black eye over anything, but that's just irresponsible journalism at its worst.
Well, it's also just a disgrace that even if you want them to get a black eye, you don't want them to get a black eye in this realm. It's not
right.
This tragedy that happened is not a political way for anybody to advance their ideology, their worldview.
Well, sadly, it's turning into that. And
no, it really is.
Definitely what's going to happen. And you know, like we joke about natural news, and they're conspiracy theorists and cranks and nuts, but there's been religious leaders that have come out and political leaders.
The vigil that they just had.
Well, yeah. So that's the other thing. They had a vigil, a candlelight vigil. I guess it was yesterday or
last night.
And did Westboro Baptist show up?
Oh, I didn't hear
because
that.
What was the.
They were saying they were going to do a super picket.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's different from
A super what?
A super picket.
From their regular
What the
pickets,
fuck is
but
that? They
a
already look
super
like the
picket.
butterfly of hate.
I don't know.
They
You know, like, well, maybe the Phelpses were all going to carry 12 signs instead of just 4.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
They're going to have, tumbling trapeze artists carrying signs too. I don't know.
Juggling fire? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Hellfire.
Yeah,
Juggle
this is the
hellfire.
Westboro Baptist Church latching on to this tragic event and saying, see, it's God's judgment.
Yeah. For...
Well, that's what that article said as well. It's not just Westboro Baptist Church. The article that I sent you that you were talking about said pretty much the same thing.
And that's the funny thing about this, right? We point at the Westboro Baptist Church and we go, oh look, see how crazy they are. See how off the wall these people are. That this is God's judgment raining down hellfire upon the godless masses. When the very same thing, those very same thoughts are echoed by that Republican congressman from Texas. His name is Louie Gamer. Shit.
Hold on. Louie Gohmert.
Louie Gohmert. And he was on radio programs saying the exact same thing, that this is God's judgment upon a increasingly godless world. And he is an elected official.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also a Tea Partier.
Well, there's a lot wrong with him. He's also a global warming denialist and I think he's a young Earth creationist, but I'm not sure. That part I'm not sure about. He teaches Sunday school. He's opposed a lot of science legislation. He's certainly a global warming denialist.
Yeah. He's also a former judge.
Yeah.
Let that rattle around in your head for a second.
I mean, but this guy is an elected official, and he's falling on the same side of the fence as the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah. Yeah. And, religion makes not so strange bedfellows. People who... I'm sure he openly condemns the Westboro Baptist Church, but what he espouses isn't that different, he's saying that it's because of, atheism and I'm sure lots of other things that he doesn't like, same-sex marriage is being, legalized in states, whatever. Add anything you want to it that the religious right tends to hate. And that's why. Because I know he mentions that it's because people are losing their faith, moving away from the church. Churches are moving away from Scripture, whatever that means. Last I checked, they all had Bibles. And that's the reason why people go nuts and kill each other. Let's ignore the vast majority of, Christian history, where some of the most ruthless and destructive periods of history were because of, interreligious Christian tension, if not, Christians in some other religion.
I see these guys talk, and this guy in particular, they always keep saying these things about Christian values. Like, what are Christian values? Because, like you said, Ken, if we look back, far enough in history, the Christian values are not something I would advocate for.
No, absolutely not. They're Bronze Age values. They're Dark Age values.
So, I mean, what are this guy like? I don't know. I want to know. I guess if he was here, I'd ask him, like, what are Christian values?
Yeah. No one wants to. I mean, he would probably spout off a bunch of things that sound good. That's what they tend to do. No one wants to admit that, in all literal contexts, their religion okays genocide or slavery or any number of absolutely reprehensible things, raping and pillaging and murdering, so long as it's in the name of your religion.
Is that a Christian value, raping and pillaging? Historically, I would say yes.
I mean, if you want to gauge it by the fact that how Christians acted for the majority of time that they've been around, then yeah, absolutely. To deny it is to turn a blind eye to a majority of history, the majority of the last 2,000 years of history. And now, I mean, nowadays in America with the religious right, they're going to say things like Christian values are things like freedom, and they'll throw in a lot of nonsense buzzwords, but I mean they're playing coy. They're gonna dance around the things that no one likes, because I feel like it goes like this. There's a new social mores and pieces of ethical morality rise up in a culture, and the first thing that happens is the religious will denounce them. Then they'll demonize them. They'll fight vehemently against them. They'll lose. They'll whine about it, and eventually, they accepted it the whole time. What are you talking about? Yeah. Christianity never supported slavery. That was our idea. Duh. But I mean, Christianity always supported women working. It didn't. And that's what happens. You get that revisionist history. Oh yeah, that's a Christian value. No, it's not. That is a secular humanist value that you accept as a Christian because you live in a society that accepts it. And to hold an opposing view is a real black eye. You don't want to be the one holding that opposing view.
That's sort of the part in the story that bothers me the most, is that if you ask somebody what Christian values are, and I'm sure they are going to say something nice that sounds good, like you were saying, like they're going to say things like kindness and compassion are Christian values. And while that may be true now, that's not always the case. But I think that the kindness and compassion have always been human values, and somehow we've now fallen into this trap where they've become Christian values. They're not exclusively Christian values, and not only that, but they weren't always so. And,
Yeah.
and the fact that the religious right has somehow co-opted kindness and compassion as their thing, when truly it's not, that bothers me a lot.
Yeah, it's a serious rewrite of history. I agree utterly that kindness and compassion are human values, and any human can have them inherently. But religion does not teach those values. It might embrace those values at times, but that's the thing, it embraces them at times. To look back at a majority of pick any religion, the majority of its history is painted with bloodshed. I would say, one example, the Christian destruction of the library at Alexandria and the death of Hypatia is a perfect example. Where was the compassion when she was dragged through the streets naked and then flayed with oyster shells for being an educated woman?
The nerve.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's that guy that Texas congressman, he kept talking about religious values and Judeo-Christian values, and like right now the whole point of us sitting down and talking every week for an hour is because those Christian values are not good values to have. These are the same values that are denying rights to a large population of the citizenry simply based on their sexual orientation. That's wrong. And those same rights were previously denied to a large portion of the population based on the color of their skin. And before that, it was based on their gender. I mean, it's horrible. Those are not humanist kindness and compassion values. Those are outmoded religious values. They need to go away.
That is true.
Do we lose Ken again? It's great.
Skype keeps crashing on us.
But and I think Ken's right. Like that's the story goes where the religious leaders they fight it, they demonize it, and then when it eventually catches up with them, then they embrace it and say that it was their idea all along, and that's horrible.
Yeah, it's reprehensible because that's exactly what happens.
You know what else I thought was awful?
They fight against it, and then say it was their idea in the first place. What's awful?
Yeah, I was just repeating what you said. I also thought the comments made by the other guy that was linked in that article we were bouncing around. He was like, I think he was an American Family guy, Jeff Newcombe. He was the one that said, like, if it's a Christian man or a woman or a child and they died in this tragedy, really not so tragic because they're going to a better place. And people who haven't found Jesus, well, then they're going to go to hell. I found that despicable. That's
it's
awful.
Jerry Newcombe, and he's a
is it Jerry Newcombe?
He's spokesperson for Truth in Action Ministries. Yeah.
Well, what's wrong then? He stands for truth.
Truth in Action. It's that whole thing again. The American Family Association, the Association for Puppies and Kittens. The better, no one wants to be against truth in action. Dear God. But yeah, it's linked with the American Family Association, and he was actually on one of their shows, and he said, I have to think that all of this, whether it's the Hollywood movies, whether it's what we see on the internets, that's right, plural, whether it's liberal bias in the media, whether it's our politicians changing public policy, I think all of those somehow fit together. And I have to say also churches who are leaving the authority of Scripture and losing their fear of God. All these things have seemed to have come together to give us these kinds of incidents. And he's talking about the shooting. That's right. It's because people are leaving churches that random people go on rampages. You know?
Yeah,
It's
they're
nuts.
There's a lot of things wrong with that statement.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you know, like when we talk with Matt always gets brought up in this. Whenever we have these discussions with Matt, like he has a very thoughtful and sort of well thought out theology, which I may disagree with, but at least he's not raining fire and brimstone down on everybody. And he doesn't hold to Scripture the way these guys do. Like he isn't an inerrantist, and this guy is saying that it's it's moving away from inerrancy that is the problem. So by his definition, a guy like Matt would be part of the problem, not the solution.
Yeah. You hear that, Matt? It's on you. It's on you. No, yeah, exactly. You know, dealing with, you know, cranks all the time, dealing with Matt it's a breath of fresh air. You know, he accepts a lot of premises that I also accept.
Because you'll have a wager of how long it's going to take him to cross over. That's the only reason that y'all support Matt. Sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Yeah. But no, it's this last ditch effort by these biblical inerrantists, young Earth creationists, fire and brimstone ministers that, you know, they're stuck in the dark ages, man. Like the golden era for them, like the good old days, was the day when they took gays and put them on a pile of sticks and lit them on fire. You know,
the good old days.
I'm not being flippant about this at all. That really is like there are a number of groups in society, and the American Family Association is one of them, that definitely thinks it's okay, or that the government should, say, execute homosexuals. Like, and that's nuts to think about. Like, that's insane. Why? Because it says so in the Bible.
Well, we'll get back to that, but we're about the halfway point now. We're supposed to plug a book for Audible.com. And we've probably done this one before. If we haven't, we should have. It's really a good book, and it's sort of a overarching book about sort of why people believe weird things. And oddly enough, it's titled "Why People Believe Weird Things." It's the Michael Shermer book. If you have not read it, you should. It is available for free. It's a free download at www.audibletrial.com/TNRL. Sign up for the free 30-day membership. It's free. You don't have to pay any money for it. Do it. It'll help us out a little bit, and you'll get a lot out of it. It's a really, really excellent book, and it will illuminate the mechanics, the stuff going on in the head of these crazy people. Is Ken still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I have a cat jumping all over me and pulled my headphone out.
You know, I saw that there's a new website out there with some strange meme going around called "Cat in Lap."
Cat in lap is exactly what I have every
Pictures of
week
people
when we
with cats
film
in
the
their
show.
lap.
We were doing it before it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I invented that. Thanks.
So anyway, our book this week, Why People Believe Weird Things, from Michael Shermer, available at www.audibletrial.com/TNRL. Free 30-day membership, free audiobook download, and so go ahead and do that. Sorry to interrupt you, Ken. You were saying.
It's okay.
He's like, I wasn't saying
It's funny
anything.
you can do that right off the cuff in the middle of the show, but it seems like every week, right at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it is that sort of fascination where people adhere to these weird, like, counterproductive, counterculture ideas. Like, I don't think any rational person ever would accept the idea that, you know, homosexuals should be executed simply for being who they are.
Yeah, that's
even the craziest. It's hard to even imagine that position.
I am waiting for that time, like when you said, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen really soon when homosexuality is not only accepted but embraced by the church, and they're going to say it was our idea all along. We've been saying accept everybody for how they are,
yeah, exactly.
who they are all along. And I think that's one of the more reprehensible things about it, because the church does say if you go to Sunday school, and you sit there in the pew, that guy stands in the one guy will stand in the pulpit and say, love thy neighbor and accept everyone for who they are, and then at the very same time, they turn around and enact legislation or say something, hateful or homophobic. Like how the church. The religion talks out of both sides of its face.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The rules apply to them, but then the rules only apply to them, love thy neighbor, so long as they're not an atheist or gay,
yeah.
God forbid they're some other weird religion.
So one thing that that this Aurora, Colorado shooting has shown me, particularly based on the actions of the religious right, is just how disingenuous, intellectually bankrupt, and just awful they are about dealing with other people's mourning and loss. Because,
oh yeah,
I think that idea, like that Newcombe guy said about, well, it's okay, they're in a better place. If I was someone who lost a sibling or a parent or a friend in that shooting, like my reaction would be like, well, fuck you. I don't want them in the better place. We need them here in our lives now. I miss them. This they're in a better place is bullshit. That drives me crazy.
They would just say that you're being selfish and by wanting to keep them here when God is calling them home.
Well, see, because then it falls into that, oh, well, it's God's plan, and then you get into the Westboro Baptist Church idea of, oh, we'll fear God. Like, that's awful. That's an awful thing to say.
Yeah, it's the God works in mysterious ways argument to sort of talk away any problems with theodicy, and evil in the world. And, oh, yeah, those people were great people, but now they're dead in a horrific way, and all of their family members who are also good people are all, suffering. But it's just God's plan. It's the best of all possible worlds. It's like, best of all possible worlds. I thought you said that God created heaven, which was paradise. What about Eden? It was paradise. Like, how is this the best of all possible worlds when you adhere to two distinct ideas that are better than this one?
Yeah, that just drives me. I just think it's the, if someone is going through like true loss, that it's God's plan, or they're in a better place, or we can't know the way of God. That is the worst thing ever. If I heard somebody say that, I would be angry. And to hear that guy Newcombe, or to read that Newcombe say that the Christian victims of the Colorado shooting are now in a better place, it's just awful. That's horrible.
And at the same time, in the same breath, say that any of the non-Christians are now in a terrible place.
Yeah.
You know what? No. Fuck you very much. That's not acceptable. And it's just horrible events like this give ideologues a chance to go out and just rant and spread their really terrible ideas, I don't understand how these people have followers. But
I also, when they say that this is like guys like Gohmert.
Gohmert.
How do you say his name?
Gohmert.
Gohmert, when he says that this is God's judgment, that's akin to somebody coming up and like, hey, Ken, you ran the stoplight. We've got photographic evidence of it. You really broke the law here, so Steve down the hall has to pay the ticket. That's what kind of judgment is that? That's judgment enacted on people who had no participation in the crime. That's awful. Who does that? God.
A perfect God does it.
Terrible.
With a perfect sense of justice.
And the worst part is that this was a tragedy. This is a true tragedy in the truest sense of the word, and religious nut jobs are co-opting it and using it as an excuse to say stupid shit.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it really is. Whenever things like this happen, I remember I was still sleeping, and Rochelle was getting up for work, and she was trying to tell me about it, but I was half asleep. And when I woke up, I was like, man, here it goes. Like, here it goes. It's going to be, cranks coming out of the woodwork to talk about, how the government wants to take away their guns, how, this is just, this is because of, homosexuality in America or atheism or any number of just fucking out there bonkers ideas that have nothing to do with anything, but people are trying to work their own agendas into tragedies.
Yeah, this really is the worst example of religious behavior we've seen in a while. That is, they're in a better place is no consolation to the families that lost loved ones. None whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Reading through some of the comments left on these. What was that? What's up?
Go ahead.
Something. Go.
Well, I just wanted to take the last few minutes to get away from the Colorado shooting a little bit and touch again on what we talked about last week regarding the study that said that atheists and non-believers have the lowest retention rate.
Right, because you have new information about the study.
Well,
this is the study where we weren't sure what the methodology was or what the how they came to their conclusions or how their definitions worked. So I remember you saying at the beginning of the show you had.
I still don't have the whole picture from this, but I looked around and the study was done. And it's not even it's their analysis. The analysis was done by a group called CARA, which stands for the Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, and it's associated with Georgetown University. But their mission statement is to increase the church's self-understanding, to serve the applied research needs of church decision makers, and to advance scholarly research on religion, particularly Catholicism. So, their mission statement alone has a heavy church bias, leaning heavily towards Catholicism. And what they did, and I don't even know that I don't think they've published this analysis in any journal. I think they just do these they do these publications or do these studies or analysis and then just sort of publish them in-house. So it's not published in any refereed journal. Not that I could find. And they didn't even do the survey. What they did is they used the data from the 2008 Pew Research Survey, the religious landscape, the one we talk about a lot. You can go to the website for the Pew Research Foundation, and you can look at their 2008 survey called Religious Landscape of the United States. And so what this CARA group did is they took the data from the 2008 Pew study and somehow they magically massaged the numbers into this graph that shows that atheism and non-believers have the lowest retention rate of all groups. And of course, they, Catholicism ranked really high up there, and I'm starting to think it's exactly what you said it was, Jason. It was sort of like a propaganda puff piece where they can pat each other on the back and see, we're doing a good job, boys, because it's not published in a peer-reviewed journal. And if you look on the Pew Research site, when you look at the Pew analysis of the data, you get the opposite picture. In fact, that's the study that shows that the atheism non-believers at, what was it, like 16, 18%?
16%.
As a group, they're the largest single group. And they show a retention, a positive growth rate of 1.6%, meaning that the Pew Research data came to the exact opposite conclusion that the Cara study did. So I've tried to figure out how the Cara study got to that point, because if you look at the Pew numbers, it's very easy to see. It's they have the numbers laid out, and it was you can see this is increasing, and I just don't understand how the Cara study can get to the exact opposite conclusion, other than it's a propaganda piece.
Yeah, it's definitely a puff piece. It's just fluff to, pat each other on the back. It just, like Jason said last week, and I think that's pretty clear.
I didn't think that way at first, but Jason, I think you're absolutely right. I think this is somebody massaged the numbers, and it's a self-published analysis that's not going to go in any kind of peer-reviewed journal. It's not going to go in any kind of scholarly article. It just exists in their own little echo chamber, and so they can all pat themselves on the back about see what a good job we're doing. And in fact, the Pew Research study shows that Catholicism is one of the fastest declining groups.
Yeah, them and what was the other one? There was another one that was really, really quickly declining. Another Christian sect. I want to say it's one of the mainline evangelical churches. But yeah,
yet another reason why they would want to do this.
on the what's that?
I said yet another reason why they would want to do this.
Exactly. There's a lot of negative flack going around with the Catholic Church right now between pedophile priests and the Catholic Church has laundered a whole bunch of money for some mob family.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. It surprises me that there are still Catholics left.
This whole thing about that article, it's kind of been an interesting exercise in research and in evaluating information. And if you just looked at that graph, if you never looked any further, you would go, oh my gosh, look, atheism is declining and these people are wrong, and look who's right. Oh, well, it's the Catholics, and geez, look what a good job they're doing. When in fact, if you dig a little deeper, if you look a little closer, if you just apply that skeptical lens to it, you'll find that that's maybe not necessarily the case. And whose analysis do you think holds more weight or is more valid? The unbiased analysis or the analysis of a group that says we're here to advance the Catholic cause?
Yeah.
That's a hard choice.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the blind taste test, but one guy has, he gets to peak. He knows which one's Coke and which one's to point at.
Yeah.
Wait, you're saying that Pepsi and the Pepsi challenge was rigged? They only showed the people who picked Pepsi?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what happens, but I'm definitely saying that's what happens.
Has anybody ever taken the Pepsi challenge? Have you
I
ever
have,
done it? I've
yeah.
always wanted to.
I've done it when I lived in Texas when I was
Really?
a kid. We were at a mall and they were doing it.
The Pepsi challenge.
Yeah.
Did you get the T-shirt? I took the Pepsi challenge.
I didn't get a T-shirt.
Damn it.
I think I picked the wrong one. I can't remember.
Jason got pissed because neither one of them was Dr.
I know that's pretty much what it was. I was like, motherfucker, there's no Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. But
But I don't drink Dr.
The
Pepper
Pepsi
anymore.
Challenge, it's in everybody's mind, and everybody sort of sees that as like, oh, it's an unbiased exam. It's an unbiased. No, it's not.
I don't know anybody who thinks that's an unbiased.
People did at the time.
I mean, it's like they still do it with other projects like those made-for-TV things. It's like, we got this laundry. Oh, I don't know, whatever.
Have you seen the Geico commercials that do that?
Oh yeah.
There's a funny Geico commercial where she's like, "Oh, it's awful." And he's like, "Yeah, that's probably the high rates you're tasting there." But I mean, it's just I think it's funny that and if the Pepsi Challenge is sort of like that's people's sort of default idea of like what an unbiased test is like, then they're way off.
We just by talking about the Pepsi Challenge has done our own test. We're going to gauge what age group listens to this show.
Yeah.
We only know kids don't know what this is.
Yeah.
They're like, what? What's that?
Well, that's just true. But you know, I mean, like that. The Pepsi Challenge was like the least scientific study ever done, and it illustrates a point. But you know, I had another thought. Like we're going back and forth again. I'm all over the map this morning. I've been reading a lot of Hitchens lately, and these guys that are these pundits and religious leaders that are mouthing off about the Colorado shootings, and especially the Westboro Baptist Church. I want to ask some people that I know that are religious if they truly fear God. I think that's
well. If you go to
their response,
if you go down Military Highway and over by the car lot, over where the bowling alley used to be, there's a church there, and their sign has never changed, and it still till this day says, "The fearing God is the beginning of knowledge." So, yes, I think people believe this.
I don't know.
There are such better church signs than that. God,
I
love a good church sign.
I
But
think that's
bad.
going to be my next question to my favorite theologist. Fear of God.
Yeah. Do you actually fear God? I'm sure he'd say yes.
When you were in the church camp, because you know you were in that end of the pool. Did you fear God?
I honestly, I mean, I guess I left pretty early. You know, like.
Shouldn't we define what it means to fear God? I mean, because there's so many different levels
Well, I
of
realize it's
fear.
an open-ended question, and I mean it to be so, and I want the people I ask it to answer in their own way. So you know they can tell me what that means to fear God or not. You know, for me, and I grew up nominally religious, and I didn't. You know, we went to Sunday school, and asking me if I fear God would be like asking me if, you know, did I believe I was on the naughty list for Santa Claus, right? It would be about the same thing. It had very little impact on me.
How much do you fear God? About as much as the ratio of leprechauns to unicorns.
I mean, you know, right now, not at all. I don't even believe in such a thing, so it would be silly to...
What about the Santa list?
Yeah, that I'm really afraid of. I'm really concerned about being on the naughty list.
Be careful what you say. You might not get the new Dark Knight DVD, Blu-ray.
No, he's
for
going for the
Christmas.
Avengers Phase 1
Oh, yeah, that's going to be
box
awesome.
set.
We're about that time, right?
Yeah, it's time to wrap it.
Okay, cool. So as always, we want to know your thoughts.
Okay, well, I think... oh, wait, you're talking to them.
Yeah. Jason, do you have thoughts?
You know, I'm gonna ask people that I know are religious, and somehow if I can do it like sort of unconfrontationally, ask them if they fear God.
Why don't we take mics on the street, Sunday as people coming out of church stand on the sidewalk and say, "Can we ask you a couple questions?"
Because I fear getting my ass beat. That's what I fear.
We'll have cameras. We can put it on the show. It'll increase our viewership. It'll be all right. No, and just seriously, just ask people as they come out, because religion is fresh on their mind. They've had the sermon, and you can ask them, "Do you fear God?" And if they say yes, then what does that mean? And just ask 3 simple questions. Stop, record, move to the next person, and then we can put it together and discuss it on the show.
Maybe.
You know, it would be an interesting experiment. Doing that with a bunch of people on a Sunday right after church, and doing that with a bunch of people on a Friday when religion's not fresh in their mind.
Yeah.
On Friday
With
when
a
they're
few
walking
beers
the
in their
bar,
hands.
when they're leaving the bar. Last
Exactly.
call. Let me ask you a question.
Just after they've picked up a girl at a bar. Do you fear God?
I love you guys. No, just answer the question.
Just answer the question, sir.
All right, go ahead.
No, vomiting in the gutter is not an answer. You will still need to answer the question. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to address something we said, give us a call at the Zombie Popcorn Hotline, 757-337-2195. Email us, nonreligious@zombie-popcorn.com. Like us on Facebook, Google+, Stitcher Radio, iTunes. Always go to the website, subscribe to the newsletter. And remember,
We're
you can always
everywhere.
come be a part of the show in the chat room. We broadcast live on YouTube. We try to group.
Yep.
I don't know. What are you trying to say? 'Cause Skype sucks. I don't know why Skype is being really crappy, but what he's saying is, like, we broadcast everywhere. Just go to
We're like an
zombiepopcorn.com,
infection.
and we're everywhere. And we also broadcast live on Google Plus now, which you can watch us on YouTube. But if you want to join in on the video conversation and be a part of the video feed, you can hit us up in Google Plus, and the links are all on Zombie Popcorn and on our Facebook page and Google Plus page. I think that's it. So have a good night.
Have a good one.
And then it's Ken's back. Bye.
Yeah,
Say
can you
goodnight,
hear me?
Gracie.
I thought I was a good Christian.
Jesus died on a cross. I go to church every Sunday. This got out here. Then I read that his Jesus died on a cross for a rotten hooker.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday. I'm a very religious person.
I thought I was a good Christian.
The very lies the serpent told to Eve in the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote